Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester. And I'm sure you are too, because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in the whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives we're choosing. If you're here for the first time, welcome. I share everything related to everything, always about personal development, manifesting the life that you choose, and like just my energy and my essence and my manifestation journey. I'm on this journey with you. I'm like no professor at this journey, right? I learn things and then I come and share them, and then I hope that they help other people. That's what I do. If you've already been here, then welcome back. I appreciate you thinking that I had something so valuable to share that you want to come back and listen to these videos. What I'm sharing in this video is what keeps us in poverty mindset. And when I say us, it's like a universal us, right? It's not personal. It's not calling anybody out. But if you're dealing with something related to a poverty mindset, or wondering why you are in a space where you always just have enough and you can never just like splurge and do extra and do the bigger things that you want to do in life, then this conversation may be something that is useful to you. So, when I think of poverty mindset, what is it? It's the mindset and the belief system that is telling you that your level of living, or where you are experiencing your life from, is always going to be at a certain level. Like you're never going to have the kind of vehicle that you want to drive. You're never going to have the house that you want to live in. That, you know, people that have money did something crooked to get there, or they had some kind of advantage that you didn't have an advantage of, that they had generational wealth and you didn't have access to that. And that, you know, what you're experiencing in your lack is way more important than anything else anybody that has more than you has going on. I remember I was listening to Dave Chappelle, and he said something. Now, these are not my sentiments, but it was a very funny comment. He said, "You know what bothers me the most about people in poverty? They can't see past their own pain." No, because poverty is immediate, and you're dealing with it every day, and you're experiencing it every day, and you can't always like reach your head up, you know, over the water. It's like when I watch episodes of Good Times, and I just think like, "Oh, these people never caught a break. This was rough." I didn't see anything wrong with that when I was a kid. I mean, I knew that they were having a struggle, but it was like how everybody lived around me. Everybody had poverty mindset. Everybody always was trying to get rich quick. Everybody was always trying to think of the next idea that could pull them up. But nobody was really talking about discipline. Nobody was really talking about, you know, getting your mind in alignment, getting your head straight, you know, removing yourself from environments that kind of impede upon the growth and expansion that you're trying to experience. Like the wisdom was always there, of course, in some book somewhere or whatever, but nobody was really talking about that. It was as if poverty and the poverty mindset was like a permanent condition. And the only way that you can get out of it is if you somehow got lucky. And by lucky, that means you put no real effort towards it. You didn't think any deeper. You didn't create anything in your life, that somehow you had this long lost uncle or something that died and they left you $1 million or something. And then still, we already know people with poverty mindset will run right through that little money that they get from those relatives, and they'll be back broke again, right? So poverty mindset just comes from those environments that we were connected to growing up, and the ones that we have access to. And the thing about it is, people think that money changes that, but I've been in environments and around people to where they actually have money and they still have a very poverty mindset. Like they still are living in scarcity and lack no matter what, right? Even when they spend the money, every time they spend money, it's like a begrudging exchange. It's like, I had to buy this, whatever. Everything, nothing is easy, nothing is soft, nothing is free, nothing is enjoyable, right? And that's something that I've always wanted to experience and live. And I've definitely manifested that and created it with my daughters in my life. One of the other previous videos, I was just talking about how I hadn't worked in like 6 months. I happened to be laid off from a place that I was doing contract work for, and they paid us for 6 months because it wasn't even abrupt. So it was just a blessing. And so I was even more so in a good condition. So not only did I not have to live off savings and all this kind of stuff, I still had a regular income coming in from work that I wasn't even doing. And then I was still doing other little odd projects on the side, right? And so when we are no longer in that poverty mindset, our lives start to show up in a different way. We start to increase the amount of lucky things that are happening in our lives, right? Because if we want to call them luck, we'll say lucky things. But it's preparation. It's getting in alignment with the right experiences you want to have with the right people and places. It's removing yourselves from environments where everybody's conversation is always about pinching a penny here, not having this, not having that, and the energy is you can't even talk about if you want to splurge on something and do it, it's going to come back to you in that environment as you shouldn't have spent your money on that. Or if you broke again, don't come asking me for money, because that's kind of like an environment I grew up in. Like, you wanted a pair of flashy tennis shoes, you were almost, side-eyed. You went and bought them, and then say the next week you needed $10. They were like, well, you should have thought about that before you bought those $10 tennis shoes, those $100 tennis shoes, right? And so that's the poverty mindset. It's not about growth and expansion. It's always about how much can you bring into your life and then hold on tightly to for dear life, as opposed to use it to experience the world. Many times in the daytime, to make sure that I'm not in poverty mindset, which I know that I'm removed from that for the most part in many ways, right? Is I'll go out in the middle of the day and just go do things that are not necessary. Like, I'll go get coffee. I can make coffee at home, but I'll be honest with you, they make coffee way better at this coffee shop I go to. So I'll go do things like that, and I'll get like a cappuccino or something, and then I'll leave like a big tip. And it's really just so I can circulate my money into environments. I don't want to be stagnant sitting there looking at numbers on a screen in a bank account going, oh yeah, everything's okay today, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not the life I want to live. And so since I've been in that kind of space, which I've been doing this for years now, I've had nothing but beautiful experiences when it comes to finances and not being in a poverty mindset. Because the ultimate fact is, when you have something to give to other people, you can't be poor. You can't be in poverty, because you have something to give. And if you're in the mindset to where you always have something to give, then that means you are always abundant. You're always expanding. You're always growing. You're always rich, right? Rich is not having, a certain dollar number in the bank, $1 million, blah, blah, blah in the bank. Rich is how you carry on in your life and live every day. I can do wonderful things with, with my family, my daughters all the time. And I can do all kinds of amazing things, like, go on events, go to restaurants, and, have experiences. And none of those times in those experiences do I sit there and think like, oh, pick this on the menu because this right here costs this and that. I say, get what you want. And I've always been like that with them whenever I could do it. When I couldn't do it, we just stayed home and we played card games and I cooked food, But when we can't, at this time in my life, we can do those sort of things. I never put like unnecessary limitations on it if I'm going to go out and do it, right? Because if I'm going to put all those limitations on it, it's going to keep me in a poverty mindset. I may as well not do it. And I carry on like this with almost everything. If I'm working in an environment or with people, I'll do things like cover the lunch if we go out on lunch together. And it's mostly because I don't want to show off to the people I work with. We all make the same money. We know what we make. It's not even, it was never a thing like that. It's more so because I don't want to get caught up into, you had this amount, you had this amount, you had this amount. Now let's split the bill and then send this waitress around having to get 5 receipts from us, right? It's a way that you bring a quality standard into your life that pulls you away from the poverty mindset, right? And pulls you away from the thought process of not having enough to having more than enough, right? And I'll tell you this, I went to dinner recently and it was one of my nieces. It has nothing to do with the money, right? It was my daughter's graduation and we're like all around the table. Even her family was there. So it was extra people, right? It was a whole giant round table at this restaurant. And I'm telling you, this is not a middle grade restaurant. It's above that, right? That people go to all the time. And it's like, it's a little bit higher end. And I went there because I was just like, it's a graduation. It's like, this will be a wonderful thing. And in my thought process, I was like, I guess I should pick up the check. Everybody's here. That sounds like amazing, right? But before I could even do it, I had my niece pop up. And when the waitress came, it was just like, what tickets are together? She jumped up out of her seat and was just like, oh no, I'm taking care of the bill. Mind you, she's like only 25 or 26. But she knows she lives a good life, no kid. I always say no kids, no husband. We don't have all that kind of stuff going on. Your life is a little more free. But it's not even about the money. And the people that was with us, that was my daughter's family, they were like, really? She's gonna? And I was like, yeah. And a part of me wanted to get up and say, no, you're my baby niece. You can't do that. But I let her do it, because the abundant mindset that's able to do those wonderful things for people without thought process and give at that level shows that you're not living at a poverty mindset level. And to see that in like the next generation of, child is beautiful to watch, because you're just like, wow, she's showing up like a boss that says, I have an abundant life. I have a lot to give, and I'm going to take care of this thing, for my family and their friends, right? I don't even know what the bill was. I didn't even ask her, because the money did not make a difference. But the fact that that is who she is just so beautiful and impressive to me on so many levels, right? Because that poverty mindset also seeps into the way that you interact with people in relationship. The poverty mindset people are the kind of people, if you didn't show up for some event for them or something that they had, they hold on to it and remember it like a grudge forever. And then they use it against you, or they ignore accomplishments that you have, or they ignore your children's accomplishments, or they don't send them a gift. They don't send money. They don't do anything for them because they're holding on to something that they think you did a while ago or whatever. That's poverty mindset. And when you see people that think like that, you can almost guarantee that they're never going to live the abundance that they want to live, because they're not freely giving of themselves to the world and the environment around them. So poverty mindset is way deeper than the money, way deeper than the money. It's about how much of yourself are you giving and sharing with the world? How much of yourself are you saying that I have an abundance of? Now here, let me make this thing grow. Let me see it grow, right? And a lot of people don't realize that. And I remember this girl I was going to school with, I was talking about being cheap with things. And this is another part of poverty mindset. You learn to be cheap. You learn to try to get everything at a bargain, at a discount all the time, trying to get it, finagle things. I always tell my daughters, I'm not looking for bargains or discounts every single place I go, but what I don't like is to be price gouged. That's different. That means I'm dealing with mischievous energy, and I don't want to deal with that mischievous energy where you go into the auto body shop or the auto shop, the mechanic, you go to get something fixed, and then they say, oh, we know we're not sure, even though the dealership diagnosed it, and you're going there because you know that it's going to be a fraction of the cost. Oh, we don't know. We got to do a $250 diagnostic. And then from there, we can tell you what's up with the vehicle. We can do a full rundown, blah, blah. And you're just like, why does this sound like ching, 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 ching? And they're not remotely worried about making a connection and like being a quality person. When I went to another mechanic shop, I said, this is what they sent me. This is the video. It showed the motor mounts were bad. I sent the video to them. They send me a quote already up front and say, this is what it's going to cost. That was it. They didn't bring it in and say, oh, but if it's something else, oh, but then we got to do this. Oh, like you can feel that mischievous energy from the top. So it's not about a discount. It's about dealing with people who also don't have poverty mindset, because then they're not trying to like nitpick and grab every little dime that they can from you just to make the bottom line look bigger, right? And I've dated people like this, poverty mindset. They can't barely treat you to anything without tallying it off on a sheet of paper and always worrying about that. Ladies, you dated men before. Gives you the ick. It does to me now with poverty mindset and scarcity mindset. And they try to give you that poverty and scarcity mindset. It's just like, I'm not in romantic connections and relationships to be in a poverty mindset connection. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in scarcity, right? If it's something that we can't do, then let's just do it at a lower scale. If it's something that you can't afford, let's just do it, in a smaller way. But let's not do it and then look to me to sort of make up the difference and make it right. That's just not going to happen, right? Because so many layers to that, but it's just not going to happen. So what I'm saying is that it's the same thing to me with friendships. You do that, somebody invites you out to lunch or whatever, and they pick the place and everything like that. And then when you go there, they go, oh yeah, split that check. And you're just like, okay, it's fine and dandy though, but it shows a poverty mindset. Because like, why would you pick a restaurant to where if you're inviting someone else out to lunch, you couldn't cover the bill if it's an invite, right? So these are just the things, right? Buying cheap things, being around people who are always holding grudges and always trying to do tit for tat things. It's a poverty mindset, poverty scarcity mindset. When it comes to money, definitely poverty scarcity mindset. Poverty mindset and getting away from it is about how much you give to the world, how much you give of yourself. And then at the end of the day too, is are you giving it in the right directions? So that's where you start to you get meticulous about where you do your business, who you interact with, who you invite to lunch and pay the bill for. Because there are people you invite, you could do that with and give to, and they don't care. And it like, they're just there to suck up what you have and suck up your energy and never return the favor, right? I used to go out with this girl all the time back in the day when I was like in my early 20s, before I even had kids. We used to go out and I would always pick up the check. I couldn't understand why I would, but when they would come, I just don't like the whole split the check up thing, right? And it was only 2 of us. But when I tell you, she never returned the favor. And I mean, we went out quite a bit or whatever. And so I had to get over my disgust with the whole split the check thing and just let it happen, because I was like, I'm just putting money into an empty well, and I don't feel like my energy is going into a place where it's going to be expanded and reciprocated. So then when you start to move away from that poverty mindset, you start to focus more on, now when I'm giving, am I giving it in the right directions? Am I giving it and sharing with the right people? Am I sharing with the right mindset? Am I handing over the tip like, here you go, I want you to have this, as opposed to, what's 20%? 20% of $10, $2. Okay, that sounds about right. And you're giving a tip like this. You know, that poverty mindset holds us up from experiencing the expansiveness of life. And then you will find things will happen to you serendipitously. Like you'll go to lunch or dinner with a beautiful family member and they'll cover the whole entire table. And you're just like, I was about to do that because this is my daughter's event. And look at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it crossed my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I should cover the check, you know? Like, I didn't even think about it because that's just not, who I think about things as they come sometimes. But before I could even like process it for real, it was already done. You'll have these things happen, or you'll go to a restaurant or something and somebody will say, we're comping this because we didn't have this and this for you. Or you'll go, like I went to go get some fish yesterday and they give you 2 extra pieces and you're like, why? Because you're shining, you're glowing, you're expanding. You don't have poverty mindset. When you don't have a poverty energy and a scarcity energy, people want to give to you. Keep that in mind. What holds us in poverty mindset is sticking to those ideas of always trying to be a cheap person, buying cheap things that are not of quality, always trying to get a discount everywhere you go with every single thing. Always not thinking of, well, if something is a luxury or something is nicer, maybe it's worth the price that's written on it. You know, the kind of people that pick up things in the store and it's just like, $99? They had this down the way at so-and-so and it was blah, blah, blah. Well, then go down the way. Be quiet. You know what I mean? It's like being that person, taking yourself out of the environments where people are conducting themselves that way, getting out of environments where people are always pocket watching and looking at every dime you have and acting like if you spend money, buy nice things for yourself, or you take care of yourself, that you're somehow spending money in the wrong kind of way, right? No, taking care of yourself is important. You need to glow. You need to shine. You need to look beautiful in this world. You need to look like you care about yourself and take care of yourself, because those are going to be the ways that a lot of other doors open for you when it comes to interacting with the other human beings that we have to interact with, right? So you don't want to be in that space where people around you talking about you behind your back saying, she went and got her nails done, she got a pedicure, and she told them do this or whatever. By the time she was done, that bill was $200 or something. Why are they worrying about what you're spending on yourself in that way? Get out of those environments and spaces. Stop going to lunch and going out in environments with people where they're penny pinching and looking at the check going, we didn't have that, you had this, I had that, and then separating everything by the dime. Get out of those environments. Or where you're like shortchanging yourself from getting something that you know is going to last longer by going with the cheaper option just because it's cheaper, right? And then get away from those people that tit for tat you. That tit for tat energy is also a poverty scarcity mindset, because they're so deeply embedded in that bitterness. They will never experience the free-flowing, abundant life that they can, because they're too caught up on who's not doing what they want them to do, when they're not doing it, how they're doing it, if they're doing it wrong, how they treated me, if they didn't treat you. They're too caught up on all the minutia. Go out in the world and be the great and amazing person that you are, and the right people in the right places and the right circumstances are going to follow you. Anyway, I hope I shared enough about poverty mindset. It's kind of a video I could do again and again on different subjects, or how it shows up. But we see it everywhere we go. And you need to, I was going to say dislodge, but that's kind of dramatic. You need to disassociate yourself with that energy. And you know when it's happening. You know when you're around the kind of people and places and environments to where that is. this is the last thing I'll share. I was going to go do something, and I made a mistake and had my GPS yesterday on no highways. So it took me through these neighborhoods I don't normally travel through to go do it. And when I tell you, the energy was so rough in these environments. Like, there was such a needy and like heavy energy in the environment, and like it was just not good energy. And on the way back, I made sure I switched it to highway because I was like, I don't need to ride through these areas. But it was such a heavy, rough, and unsavory type energy that was there. And I was thinking to myself, if you are in this energy, you have no idea that you're in it, right? You have no idea that you're in this struggle energy, the scarcity energy that you think is working for you by picking, holding back every dime and like, lying about that's another thing. If you got to lie about how much money you got to other people for what things you're working on and doing, when you have to share the information, that's another poverty mindset. And I used to be in spaces to where I was not able to tell people that I had money in the bank or I had something in savings or I was getting something. Like, I couldn't share any fun things because what they were going to be doing is listening, going, hey, I had this thing come up and I need to borrow this money for that. And the money you may not get back, or even if you need it, you won't get it back or whatever. Nonetheless, I hope I shared a lot on poverty mindset, and I can help you kind of think about, am I in that scarcity space? Is this the reason why I'm always having just enough, why I'm never able to do those expensive things or able to splurge the way I want to, or get these little luxury items, or do these things that I want to do, or experience these experiences that I want to experience, or give to others the way that I want to give? Am I in that space? Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And if you're still here on this video at this time, I'm going to do this emoji thing that I see people do all the time. But I like the idea of it because it kind of says that, letting you know how far people got into your videos. Put a $ emoji down in the comments to show that you are going to live an abundant life. You're working on being more expansive, and you're working on having more than just enough, because nobody wants to live a whole life of having just enough and being afraid to spend all of your money all the time, right? Like the Science of Getting Rich book says, there are penurious people that are rich, and there are also spenders, high spenders that are rich. It's like, it does not matter. It's your mindset. It's your energy. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share, because I like this channel to grow. And until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day.